Hi everybody, it's Joe Cioffi on this Monday, the last day of the month of April, April 30th, 2018, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Good to see everybody getting on board here. It figures that, excuse me, April is going out pretty much the way it started, on a very chilly note. There were snow showers that made their way through parts of upstate New York over the weekend and this morning in the Catskills. Many places get in elevated areas, especially getting some accumulation. Saw some pictures. It looks like a couple of spots, anywhere from a coating to even an inch or two falling. And as far as how far south that snow got, there were reports of some snow even in some of the higher elevations in parts of northern New Jersey. So quite a way to finish off what has been a very interesting month indeed. And by the way, I was looking at some of the numbers in terms of the temperatures. April is the fifth month of the last six that is going to be below average. But it looks like it's only going to finish somewhere between 3 and 3.5 degrees below average. This doesn't even put it in the top 10 coldest, although it is one of the colder Aprils we've experienced in quite a few years. So there's this sort of exaggeration in terms of just exactly how cold this April was relative to normal. This was, yes, colder than normal. Was it a huge deal? No. I think it's just the fact of the way March evolved with all the nor'easters we had, and the volatility of the pattern continued into April. And I think we can also throw in the fact that, there was just fatigue, just fatigue, too much for too long. And now we're getting ready to look ahead at some spring weather. Before we get to the weather, I just want to very quickly just mention the fact that on the descriptor to this video, there is a link to Amazon, and that is a way for me to earn fees from Amazon in order to support what I'm doing. So if you'd like, it's there for you. If you don't want to, you don't have to. There's no obligation from anybody, but I just want to disclose that from the onset. Okay, so let's now move on to what is going to be happening over the next few days. And I think front and center, I do want to address off the top, because I can't believe that I'm getting this already. But I know what everybody is looking at. I have not seen anything posted by anybody else. I will say that if anyone is going on there or talking about what the GFS is doing, and the hints on the other models as the indication that we were already going to be dealing with a tropical storm or a hurricane, that's grossly irresponsible, and I'm not going to do that. I just was very quickly looking at the fact that there have only been 4 hurricanes during the month of May, okay, since 1851. All right, so that's a long time frame to only have 4 of them. And with respect to this the early part of the month, they're non-existent. So this is what a few people are getting bent out of shape over, I suppose. I mean, really, this is silly. I pointed this out the other day, and I'm only going to address this once in general through the whole season, because as I stated the other day, just like in the wintertime, when you've got models that like to make snowstorms all over the place and all the time through a 16-day forecast period, that the vast majority of them don't even come close to happening, we're going to be dealing with the same nonsense here going forward. So I'm just going to do it this one time. I am not going to entertain questions every single time the model is showing a tropical system going someplace in the long range, okay? You need to plan your life accordingly and not worry about nonsense. When something becomes real, then we deal with it, all right? I'm sorry, I don't mean to rant about this, but it's just, it's not even May 1st yet, and this kind of stuff is really getting on my nerves. But you can see on the GFS here from late this afternoon, there's an inverted trough here with an area of low pressure that goes into the eastern Bahamas. And I'll jump back one model run so we can go a bit further. with this. Here is, I'm sorry, I jumped 2 model runs back. Let's just go back 1 model run. And here it is from the last run of the GFS, and there's a weak low that goes west-northwest and then westward. I mean, this is really nothing, okay? It's a low, and that's, you know, it's low pressure. If you look at the signature of the precip, looks like it would be non-tropical in nature or possibly subtropical in nature, but it's not something wasn't even going to talk about this again until the fact that I got a couple of different messages from everybody. So look, you know what? Just let's leave it there. If I show you on the how this looks even on a satellite, if I can get it for, I want to see if I can get it for this area. I may not be able to. There's usually a IR satellite for some of these shots, and it doesn't appear that there's one here for this one. But the bottom line is that, you know, this is nonsense at this point. Okay, so let's just leave it there and be done with it. All right, now let's come back to I'm going to come back to the GFS in a second here. Let me just come back to the beginning. We're going to put this away for the moment, because I want to talk about what's happening otherwise, and there are a few things going on of interest that are pretty interesting. First off, you know, we mentioned last week about the fact that we were going to have this upper air low. I had this GFS is actually from 4 days ago, showing a strong upper air storm up in upstate New York. This was for Sunday morning, and then a ridge building out to the west. Now, this is indeed played out according to plan, and in fact, when we look at the radar this evening, look at the radar here across the northeast, you can see the rotation of the upper low, and there's a back band of showers moving southeast across New York State and down to northern New Jersey and Long Island. The upper low continues to make progress to the east as it moves off the coast east of New England and moves along its merry way. So once this pulls out, this is going to allow the warmer air that's out to the west to start getting into the east. And that's what I think a lot of the warm weather lovers have been waiting for. We did have a couple of odd days there in April, but this time around we're going to string probably 3 or 4 days. Now, I want to show you that we do have some severe weather issues. The blue from the Storm Prediction Center, the blue is the latest severe thunderstorm watch that has been posted for much of West Texas and into the Oklahoma Panhandle. The slight risk for severe weather goes all the way up into eastern South Dakota and even into parts of southwestern Minnesota. You can see the slightly larger area of marginal risk, but it's a relatively narrow north-south band that is setting up with respect to the severe weather. But we are going to see more extensive severe weather threats the next 2 days, as the Storm Prediction Center is fairly bullish on the severe weather threat for day 2 and day 3. So I'll bring up the day 2 map for you. I'm going to pull it up here and get it on the screen. So this will just take me a half a second. I didn't anticipate doing this. I guess when I did the hurricane, the rant rave has just you know, set me in a different direction as far as production. And of course, now that I'm trying to get to the Storm Prediction Center from the Weather Service, I can't do it. Okay, but trust me, folks, there's going to be an enhanced risk of severe weather that's going to show up over the next few days across the central and southern plains, and eventually making its way into the middle Mississippi Valley. As far as what's going on at the moment, and when we take a look at the full U.S. radar, it's relatively quiet. We do have, you see some precipitation, rain, and some snow in higher elevations across Wyoming and parts of Montana and Idaho. We've got a few, what looks like a few showers off the Gulf Coast. You've got the rotation that is going on in the northeast with the upper low, and then a little bit of activity back up and through parts of northern California, and even just along and just off the coast of Washington and southern Washington and northwestern Oregon. So radar activity is fairly benign at the moment. You got that severe thunderstorm watch that's up, so we'll probably start to see the radars firing up as we go into this evening. And by the way, in terms of overall warnings and of what's going of what is going on, we just have you got these red flag warnings that have shown up again in the Southwest and in West Texas, also in and around the Great Lakes, and also in around parts of the Mid-Atlantic states of Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Delaware, and New Jersey. And I'm thinking over the next few days we're likely to see this area expand a bit with the very warm air that's coming in. It's also going to be relatively dry air for at least a couple of days. I don't expect it to get very humid here at all. So I think that we'll probably see that red flag area getting expanded to some degree. Oh, yay! Storm Prediction Center, thank you. You did it. Okay, so here I'll bring up for tomorrow first, and I guess we can do it on this map. Okay. Yep. Okay, so this is the Storm Prediction Center's forecast for Tuesday. And you can see that they have an enhanced risk of severe weather being indicated for parts of southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, northwestern Missouri, extreme northwestern Missouri, and extreme southwestern Iowa. That's inside a larger area of slight risk, which is inside a larger area of marginal risk. Now, with respect to day 3, which is going to be for Wednesday, and I'll bring that up for you now. We'll take a look at that because the area does expand and move further to the east. Where are you going here? There you go. So let's go to day 3, and this is for Wednesday. An even bigger area of enhanced risk that extends from some of the same areas we just saw for day 2, and then extending down all the way into northern Texas. So I think of all the days, the one that looks the most serious to me is probably the one on Wednesday. Not that Tuesdays isn't serious, but in terms of geographic coverage, certainly Wednesdays looks like it's going to, certainly looks like Wednesday might cover a much larger area of geography. And we've had a relatively quiet severe storm stretch over the last week or so. Haven't seen too many flare-ups, so maybe this is going to be an opportunity for it to wake up in the next couple of days. So let's go back to the GFS now and take a look at where all this is going. Our weather in the east here is pretty easy. I don't really foresee any huge issues going forward with regards to the weather this week. I think the big question is going to be toward the end of the week when a cold front approaches, and whether there might be some showers here as early as late Friday. For me, the front is going to be well up to the north. Now look at the position of that high. It's off the Carolina coast. The isobars along the coast are actually west-northwest. This is how it can get very warm, but it stays very dry with low relative humidities. As long as you have that west wind, that this time of year, it's not like July or August where you start to bring up the humidity. That hasn't quite happened yet across the Gulf states and in the southeast. We're only at the very beginning. The air still across much of the eastern part of the country is dry with relatively low dew points. Low pressure in Colorado. You can see on Wednesday evening where the GFS shows its measurable precip. It starts to get pretty active, and then that activity continues on Thursday. So usually in these instances, the model does try to bring some kind of backdoor here, and you got a low on Thursday evening sitting in western Maine, and there's a trailing cold front that makes it into New York State, but that front basically falls apart with the next low coming northward. So I'm thinking that the warm weather will certainly last here through Friday until that second front makes it through here, and then that's it. And then high pressure builds on in. We can start to see what the model is picking up. By the way, this is what we were showing before. There's an inverted trough there. I really don't think that this is something that is going to be troublesome, certainly from a tropical standpoint. It's barely into the month of May here. I'm not going to go I'm not going to get too crazy over it. Will it have an impact on weather? Possibly, but you know what? It's not going to stand out for any other reason other than the fact that there's a low sitting up in the northern Bahamas. If this were maybe late June or July or August, different story, but not here at this stage. Okay, out in the west, just to backtrack here, we do have some action going on in the northern Rockies over the next couple of days. Doesn't look overly impressive. Low develops there in Kansas, brings some rain and snow to parts of the central Rockies along about Thursday into Friday, and then that's gone. And then, there's just going to be some scattered shower activity coming into the northwest as we look ahead to the long range. This is the time of year, by the way, where activity is going to be minimal. We're not dealing with huge, intense low-pressure systems anymore going forward. If we did, they'd be pretty rare occurrences. So it's really the sort of day-to-day stuff that goes on until we start to get into the deeper parts of hurricane season. So we're just kind of getting ready to go into summer mode here, folks. There really isn't going to be too much for us to look at on a day-to-day basis. So let me come back to you guys on the board. Good to see Garo Vetsis. Did you, by the way, where you are up in Western Passaic, did you wind up seeing any snowflakes? Because I did get some reports of some people seeing snowflakes this morning in some of the elevated areas in Bergen County, and of course on up into Sullivan County and in the Catskills. So I just would be curious about that. Sherry Fox is happy about it finally warming up in Pennsylvania, as am I. Franklin Taylor, nice and mild near 80. Franklin, we're getting that up here. You got it in Arkansas now, but we're getting it up here in short order. And yes, K-Dog, you'll probably see temperatures, you're up near 90. Nice. You're going to be pretty warm this week with the high off the East Coast that way, although eventually that east wind might take things down a bit. Almost 90 degrees in South Carolina. Nice. God, it's horrible here right now with temperatures just in the 40s. Danielo Yakubov, you are correct on that, and also down into the mid-Atlantic states and probably the whole East Coast for that matter at this time of year. Michael Bologna, can't believe this glorious pattern is about to start. Yes, I'm with you there, and I'm going to try and do some fishing this week. The opportunity will present itself for me on Wednesday. Blorox Cleach, temperature busted high at 69 instead of the forecast 67. Oh, that's not too bad. It's within 2. 2 degrees is not a bust in my book. That's close enough. Lake Placid has still 3 feet of snow in the higher elevations. Well, I can believe it. I drove down from Connecticut back on my fishing trip last week. Up in Litchfield County, we passed the ski resort, and there was still snow on one of the runs. There was nobody there, but there was still some snow on there, believe it or not. And I would not be surprised, Israel. In some of the higher elevations in and around Monticello, there was some snow in some of the higher peaks in Sullivan County, so not at all a shock. Weather and low, I've kind of gone through this already with you on Facebook, and I'm going through it with you here now, okay? I'm not doing it anymore, all right? So we're going to leave it at that. Very cold today, John Trabacchino. currently 37 in North Williamstown. We had mixed precip on and off, wet snow and sleet. I know, isn't it awful? It's the end of April. It's like enough already. I am so tired of it, believe it, you know, and that's, for me to say that, that's a lot. You know, it really is. Thursday or Friday will be hotter, Israel. I think Thursday will probably be the hottest day. Assuming we get a fair amount of sun, I think we could see temperatures well up into the 80s. Wouldn't surprise me if 90 appears somewhere, but that's going to be dependent on the sun. You're going to have the wind direction. You'll have a west wind, especially in Jersey. You get that west wind. I don't think you're going to have a big sea breeze issue. You got too many westerly isobars with this high going out the way, where it is and how the ridge is oriented. So that's how you get hot here and this time of year. And it's also a way of keeping the sea breeze at bay until maybe the middle or the late afternoon, and basically keeping it right along the immediate coast and not having it penetrate that far inland. That's a huge problem on Long Island this time of year, as I've stated many times, and it can be a problem for coastal New Jersey, at least east of the Garden State Parkway. You did not get any snow, Garrow. Joe in West Patterson, Passaic County. Oh, sorry, I'm Joe. But a little further west, my friends did get snow in West Milford. Okay, good to hear. Thank you. Leaf out imminent. Yes, a lot of this stuff is blooming, by the way. Just this past weekend, everything just opened up, which was really nice. Love the breeze here in Texas. Hot, but with the breeze, and it feels good. Moving around dry air with the wind does feel good. When you try to move around humid air, that's a different story. Wouldn't surprise me. Timothy Veltman, you saw some snow too in upstate New York. Not a shock, but you're going to get some of that warm up as well. And maybe late this week, maybe on Thursday, you might get some thunderstorms that'll sneak down from the north, the way the weather front's going to set up, perhaps up into northern New York, up along the Canadian border. So we'll be watching for that possibility along about Thursday. And certainly, I think on Friday, you'll probably get some as well. So something for us to look ahead to as we go through this week. All right, folks. So let me leave it here at this point. The Joe and Joe Show tonight at 9:15 on my Facebook page, meteorologist Joe Cioffi, and on Joe's Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather. So be sure to tune in. Just again, I just want to say, you know, there's an Amazon link at the front on the descriptor for the live stream, and on the video when it goes in the video library. It's a way for me to earn some fees from Amazon if you use that link to buy whatever it is you're shopping for. So I just put it out there for you. It's a great way to support my channel and what I'm trying to do here, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, and no one's under any obligation to use it. I just want to make that clear. Trying to think of what else is going on that I need to tell you about. Nope, that's pretty much it. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. Got a nice week of warm weather ahead of us once we get through what's going on right now, which is really annoying, but it'll be done in short order. Have a great rest of your week. See you guys on Facebook, hopefully at 9:15 Eastern Time.